Have you heard about a company that banned meat for its employees while serving free alcohol in their office and hosting summer camps that had concerts by famous 80s rapper who is considered to be one of the pioneers of hip-hop culture? No? Okay, this may be a better clue. This company's valuation fell 99% from $47 billion to $300 million in the blink of an eye. Did you get it? Did you? Yes, WeWork. But wait, I just read that WeWork India has turned profitable and is doing really well. Ye kaise? To understand that, let's first understand WeWork's business model in 4 simple steps. Step 1. It rents out the property at a fixed price from the landlord. Step 2. After renting out the place, it updates and develops the interiors with new features. Step 3. It takes a certain subscription fee from its clients. And Step 4. Uses that money to pay back the landlord. In short, all WeWork does is sign a long-term lease for some office space, spend some money making that space more inviting, and then rent that space out to other companies or individuals on a short-term basis. That's exactly what my broker uncle did for me. Is he secretly worth $47 million? But before we move on, let's go back to the very beginning. In 2008, Neumann and McKinley had developed an idea about an environmentally conscious co-working space called Green Desk, which became quite popular. Seeing the rise in the popularity for co-working spaces, they sold Green Desk and started a similar venture called WeWork. By the time it was 2012, the company raised $6.85 million and had about 4 offices. Within 2 years, WeWork had a valuation of $1 billion, helping it gain the coveted unicorn status. Not that one. Again, 2 years later, it was valued at a groundbreaking $47 billion. This created a disruptive wave for companies such as Airbnb and Uber. But wait, how could a company that was just into subleasing come up with a $47 billion valuation? Well, since WeWork was growing at the same pace that normal tech companies do, and because it relied so heavily on technology, its valuations closely resembled those enjoyed by tech companies. And after looking at the success rate of the company, Neumann decided to go public. One of the banks also suggested that their IPO could be as high as $100 billion. Really? Karte kya hai ye log? Unfortunately, their IPO timing did not match up with the market sentiment. People started to grow more skeptical of the company pre-IPO. This was not only due to the decline in profits, but also because of Neumann's weird behavior and the company's business model. But this was just the beginning. The worst was yet to come. The worldwide contagion of COVID-19 confined people in their homes. This did not help WeWork's case and only made it worse from here on. During and after the pandemic, many companies realized that the hybrid mode of working was much more cost efficient, and thus after the pandemic, these companies started ending their leases, leading to WeWork suffering more losses. In 2020, the company's credit rating took a hit. It was downgraded from a B- to CCC+. Unlike my school days when a C was just a crowning achievement, here a C isn't good. By April, WeWork was trying to secure rent concessions from the landlords as future rent liabilities. All of this led the investors to question the company's business model more than Neumann's behavior. WeWork's long-term liabilities, short-term tenants' business model had produced a wide discrepancy between incoming and outgoing rent. This model was risky as it was vulnerable to decreases in demand for office space, which is exactly what happened during COVID-19. The financials were only part of the story. The other part of the story concerns Adam Neumann, ex-CEO and founder of WeWork, and investors losing faith in this new man on the block. Here are some fun facts we found on the internet about Adam Neumann. Neumann believed WeWork would end world hunger. Neumann banned employees being serving meat, but he still ate meat. And Neumann also wanted to be the Prime Minister of Israel and the President of the world. Quirks aside, Adam Neumann's business style and ethics were also questionable at times. There have been a few instances recorded about him walking barefoot, yelling and demanding for tequila. He also started the summer camp, which wasn't related to any business training session but an obnoxious party held for the employees and their spouses. This party had free alcohol, live concerts and tents to sleep in and was mandatory. All these shenanigans forced the company to oust him in 2019. India is a land of opportunity. It is home to 1.3 billion people with strong economic fundamentals, growing economy, and a thriving ecosystem for startups. This makes it a critical market for co-working. The Indian economy is on a high growth rate, and the rush for business has never been greater. With this upsurge in business needs, there are associated challenges for small businesses. And due to these challenges, startups are opting for co-working spaces as it provides the environment to focus on work, networking opportunities, and people who are passionate about similar work. And also high-speed internet, all while being cost-effective. Now coming to the growth of the sector. COVID-19 introduced the concept of work from home. This had a negative impact on the co-working sector. 21.76% of co-working spaces shut down during the pandemic. But post-pandemic, India has seen a gradual rise in the area of co-working spaces. Many companies, particularly in the IT sectors, are opting for flexible workspaces over traditional offices. In Q1 2023, co-working spaces represented a 27% share of the net absorption of 8.2 million square feet across the top 7 cities, a significant increase from 14% in Q1 2019. The top 7 cities experienced a 90% growth in net absorption of co-working spaces. Co-working spaces could comprise 30% of corporate office space by 2030. The co-working market is set to reach an estimated $15.5 billion by 2027. And this brings us to our main plot. Karan Virwani always had a love for entrepreneurship. And with this in mind, he joined his father's business that was in collaboration with Embassy Group and dealt with business parks for big companies. After seeing a shift in the mindset of Gen Z and millennials, he came up with a new business model similar to that of WeWork. And while he was on this path to revolutionize workspaces, he came across WeWork in New York. On seeing the infrastructure and the vibrant atmosphere of the place, his father and he knew that something like this would boom in India. Luckily for them, WeWork was planning a global expansion, but the management was interested in bigger countries. I'm a bit skeptical about opening a branch in India since it was a developing country and thought that they would not make any money. Ironically, WeWork India is one of the most profitable franchisees compared to the other global WeWorks. But why was Karan Virwani so fixated on starting the company with WeWork rather than opening a new one under the Embassy Group? Well, Karan Virwani's reasoning was that WeWork had built a good brand name for itself before the IPO failure. He stated that WeWork did more than just renting out space. They created a DNA, a cultural shift. And Karan Virwani wanted to replicate that model. Another reason being that WeWork came with its own global networking system. It helped people from all over the world work flexibly and gain potential partners. Karan Virwani was able to borrow this DNA from WeWork and thus started its first entity in India. In order to start WeWork in India, Karan Virwani put an investment of $150 million. In 2017, WeWork India had opened its first franchisee with 2,200 seats. By July and December, WeWork India opened its second and third franchisee. By the next year, the company grew to 15,000 desks, which was almost a 5x expansion. This was when they opened the 8th WeWork. Today, they have 44 locations with around 70,000 desks. After taking a pause from COVID-19 and recovering from the 2018 IL&FS crash, Karan Virwani was finally ready to take the company back into growth mode. At present, WeWork India has 470 plus employees. They have come a long way from the initial team of only 45 people. So who are these major players that Virwani has partnered with? Apart from Embassy Group, companies such as DLF and Prestige are major landlords who play a role in the leasing of corporate real estate. His gesture of immediately paying back his vendors and laborers right after COVID-19 helped him gain goodwill in the industry. So will WeWork India also release an IPO? Well, not now at least. Karan Virwani states that WeWork India right now has no reason to go public since it has quite a lot of private funding, though he hasn't ruled out the possibilities should the situation demand it. In conclusion, a business is not only affected by the internal factors such as management structure and business models, but is also dependent on the macro aspect of it like market sentiment and economic growth prospects.
Investments in security markets are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.